Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 192 in the book of Genesis. These are our last couple of verses in the book of Genesis. It's going to be about the death of Joseph, but I want to title this Better Than Jesus, because that's the direction we're going to head near the end. So this is 54 years after the death of Jacob, that's Joseph's father. And at this time, every single Jew in the world lived in Egypt, and they will actually for hundreds of years. So I'm going to pick up the story in Genesis chapter 50, the last chapter of the book of Genesis, in verse 22. So Joseph remained in Egypt, he and his father's house. Joseph lived 110 years, and Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. That's his son, and 3 generations after that. The children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, that's also his son, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land to the land he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's about 350 years down the road. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. Joseph died, being 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. And later, during the Exodus, Moses took him out of there. So Joseph dies in Egypt. Well, of course he dies in Egypt. He's a slave, and he's been 93 years in Egypt, 80 of it as a ruler, but all of it, 93 years, as a slave. So for the last 93 years, at this moment in time, there's been one Israel slave in Egypt. His name is Joseph. And he's put on ice for a future trip to Israel by the process of embalming. And this is an Egyptian technology. And of course, they're in Egypt, so it makes perfect sense. And after Joseph dies, no one is a slave at that moment. But Israel is inside of Egypt, being incubated, grown, and becoming fruitful. That fruitfulness started when Joseph was still alive, and Joseph saw his great-great-grandchildren. So prophecy number 1 in Joseph, as Joseph walks off the planet, is God will visit you. Now, remember, God could just leave us alone, but he chooses not to. He chooses to be involved with us and visit us. So let's talk about having this visitation of God. It's a great opportunity. God's leaning in is a great opportunity for us. It's a mercy to us. Now, when God comes, there's often a judgment, and often it's a purifying event. It has to be an eye-opener for us. And you see things, mostly in yourself, that you'd rather not see. The sin of self. We see the sin of others, very easily. The sin of self is much more tricky. So when God shows up, God's visitation always requires something of us. They are classically come to Jesus moments. And not everyone who is visited by God accepts those moments and receives those moments. Not everyone who is visited does what is required. That is, not everyone who has a come to Jesus moment comes to Jesus. So the book of Revelation and the Pharisees, the Bible is full of people who know that God is there, who know that God has visited us, that understand everything about this, and yet won't receive him as Lord, won't receive him as King, won't receive him as sovereign. So just one word of advice is, if you have a come to Jesus moment, come to Jesus. So when God visits you, receive him. And then, of course, we want to be ready for this. Now, oftentimes, the visit will be in circumstances we do not prefer. Sickness, suffering, political upheaval, evil specifically directed at you like Joseph. Maybe a slavery that lasts 93 years, or imprisonment or family betrayal like Joseph. That's oftentimes how God shows up. All right, secondly, is we have to kind of take the camera back and see what's happening with Israel. Is there's going to be an exodus from the land of Egypt with Moses about 350 years down the road, that we're going to be greatly multiplied, greatly increased, exceedingly strong. To quote Pharaoh, he calls them, you are too many and you're too strong. And so when he realizes that, about halfway through their stay in Egypt, this is a Pharaoh that doesn't remember Joseph, so because it's hundreds of years down the road, he puts the Jews into slavery. And it's that from there that this exodus out by the proclamation of God and demonstration of God happens with the 10 plagues, etc. So here's my prayer for today: is when God visits, be ready to see him. Like get our eyes ready. And when God visits, be ready to thank him. So get our knees ready for this event. And when God visits, be ready to obey him. Now that may be with your hands or your zipper or your tongue or your wallet, putting yourself on the path of fellowship, maybe in the church or service or worship or generosity. When God visits, be ready to receive him in your heart. Then the visitation of God becomes the habitation of God. So I just want to contrast the Old Testament and the New Testament with regards to his Spirit, because I think it's an encouragement to us. We have a great advantage over Old Testament people because the presence of God, the Spirit of God, the visitation of God was much more of a, like a surgical strike thing, an on and off thing. But the Spirit would be put on and then taken away and removed. The Holy Spirit has advantaged us significantly compared to the people of God at that time. So now he comes to stay, to dwell, to make his home with us. I still think there's a place for increased awareness of the Spirit, of being with me, the walking in the Spirit, the keeping in the step of the Spirit. I'm reminded of one of my favorite, I just laughed and screamed when I read this the first time, in John 16:7, where Jesus is at the Last Supper, near the end of his life. He's going to be crucified the next day. And he says, "Nevertheless, I tell you," to the disciples, "I tell you the truth. It is to your advantage that I go away." What? It's like, "For if I do not go away, the helper will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. And when he comes, he'll convict the world regarding sin and righteousness and judgment. Concerning sin, because they do not believe in me. Concerning righteousness, because I go to the Father, and you will see me no longer. Concerning judgment, because the ruler of this world is judged." So Jesus says that it is better for you if I go. It's to your advantage. Something we'd all give our right hands to experience being with Jesus. He says, nope, I got something better. My leaving will be surpassed by something that is actually a someone. That is, the Spirit of Jesus is better than Jesus, says Jesus. So here's one of the advantages that we have. When he visits, if received, he stays. So better than Jesus is the Spirit of Jesus, and he's going to help us in the meantime as he stays with us. Thanks for listening.